You guys want us to bring up Jerry Norton?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This has been so wonderful to be here. It's been so fun to meet so many of you. And you know what's been really amazing about this trip? I came with my wife with no kids. No kids. Yeah, it's been so fun. And Pace put us up in the presidential suite. Have you guys ever seen those? Like we could fit our whole family, our helpers, our nannies. We could fit everybody in there. And it was just the two of us. It was so fun. We have a big family. Some of you guys know that. And after we had kid number 9, I went to the doctor and I said, I got 9 kids. And the doctor said, Jerry, we can fix that. And I said, fix it? It's working fine. I need you to break the damn thing. So I got a vasectomy. 2 weeks later, we got pregnant with number 10. True story. Apparently, you're supposed to like drain the lines for like 30 days, you know, and there was one in the chamber, I guess. So we have 10 kids and we love every minute of it. Yeah. We live in Puerto Rico most of the year, and then we also go to Montana. If you guys are coming to community camp, those of you that are coming to community camp, you're going to get to come to our lake house and spend some time. It's going to be so fun. So we're really excited about that. So when Pace asked me to come speak to everybody, let's see if I can get what's that? Oh, sorry, I'm going the wrong way. When Pace asked me to come speak today, he said, Jerry, I want you to talk about the one thing that has had the most profound impact on your real estate journey. And that made me think about a story that I had with my wife a few years ago. We went to dinner with some friends, and these were friends from pre-real estate. So a long time ago, I got started 20 years ago, and they knew the Jerry before this journey. And we went to dinner, and they sat down, and they said, Jerry, how did you do it? You were this construction worker before. Now you're developing real estate and doing deals all over the country. And how did you go from that Jerry to this Jerry? And I started to tell this story about, okay, well, I started flipping junkers in Detroit at $5,000. And then I moved into entry-level homes. And then I just kept going up and started doing, luxury and $1 million homes and multi-million-dollar homes and wholesaling all over. And I got through this whole thing, and my wife turns and says, that ain't it. That ain't it. And I'm looking at her, and they're looking at her, and she says, the reason Jerry has gotten to the level he's at is because he's continually increased his risk tolerance. Okay? And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. So what is risk? What is risk? How would you define risk? I want you to think about this. Now, the way that I'm going to define it and the way we're going to talk about it in this presentation is the possibility that something bad might happen. Okay? And are bad things going to happen in real estate? Okay, raise your hand if you've had anything bad happen in real estate. Okay, there we go. So everybody look around. So that's true. This was a text that I got yesterday while my wife and I were in Epcot. And it says, Jerry, Jessica and I need to get on a call with you for a few minutes. We received a notice from an insurance company for a claim of $22,000 regarding the Terre Haute property. Apparently it burned down to the ground in February. Great. That's just wonderful, right? But guess what? I had an amazing day at Epcot yesterday with just my wife, no kids. We had no stroller, nobody that needed to go to the bathroom, nobody throwing up, just her and I holding hands, walking around for the day. Bad things happen, and they're going to happen. The question is, how do you handle it? So what is risk tolerance? If we're going to think about risk tolerance, how would we define risk tolerance? Well, risk tolerance is just the level at which you can tolerate and manage the anxiety of risk. Okay, so how many of you have felt stress, anxiety, and had sleepless nights? Okay, raise your hands. Yeah. Welcome to being a human. Now here's the problem. Somehow we think that something's going wrong, right? We think something's going wrong if I'm stressed or I feel anxiety or I'm having sleepless nights. But nothing's going wrong. Here's why. This is a saber-toothed tiger. 3,000 years ago, the saber-toothed tiger was trying to eat you. Okay? And so your nervous system has evolved to be afraid of getting eaten by the saber-toothed tiger so that you will run away. Okay? Now, that same nervous system you have today, the only difference is what? There's no saber-toothed tigers trying to eat you. So what I want to show with you on this presentation is how to face your saber-toothed tiger head on. How to take it head on. I want you to think about risk tolerance from a level of like 1 is a low risk tolerance and 10 would be like a high risk tolerance. Okay, and a scale from like 1 to 10. I want you to think about, okay, where would you fit if you were to self-assess? We're going to talk about that in a minute, but where would you fit on the spectrum from low to high risk tolerance? And maybe a low risk tolerance would be like calling a seller. You know, like, oh my gosh, if I call the seller, I might screw up. What if they ask me something I don't know? What if I look like a dumbass? And then what happens is you do that 20 times and you do look stupid and you don't know what to say and you feel really bad and then you quit and give up. That's a very low level of risk tolerance. Or a high level risk tolerance would be a Pace Morby who did 100 million in acquisitions. What was it, in a year, this past year? Okay, isn't that crazy? Yeah. Yeah, now interestingly, the first night we got here Monday night, Anne-Marie and I we were in the hall trying to find some food and we bump into Pace. And you know, when you bump into Pace, you also bump into what? 1,000 other people. So we were talking and this woman comes up to Pace and I and she says to Pace, Pace, I've decided to get out of real estate. And Pace is looking at her like, are you freaking kidding me? Like you could see in Pace's face, he was like, I cannot believe we're even having this conversation. And she says, there's just too many problems. So I'm out, I'm getting out. And I turned to her and I said, you know, I don't know if you know this, but even if you reach a really high level of success, you still have what? Problems. And then Pace says to her, not only do you still have problems, but they're what? They're even bigger. Yeah. It's not the problems. It's what? The ability to handle the problems. That's the secret here. That's the key. And here's the thing, and this, everybody write this down. If there's one thing you get out of this, other than wait 30 days after a vasectomy, if there's one thing you get out of this, it's your income is only ever equal to your level of risk tolerance. You want to make more money? What do you need to do? Increase your ability to manage risk. Increase your ability to sit in anxiety. It's okay. Nothing's going wrong. Interestingly, I find this really fascinating. Any baseball fans? Any Major League Baseball fans? Okay, a few of you, yeah. I didn't know this. I mean, I knew roughly, but do you know what the average batting average is for a Hall of Famer in the Major League Baseball? It's a 303. Okay, that's for a Hall of Famer in Major League Baseball, a batting average of 303. Now, what does that mean? By the way, who's this? Ty Cobb. Yeah, good. Ty Cobb. Averaged the highest batting average in history. This is back in like the 20s, and it was like a 366 over like 24 seasons or something. Crazy, right? What does that mean? That means 7 out of 10 times he what? Did not get on base. 7 out of 10, and he's the greatest batting average in history and didn't get on a base 7 out of 10 at-bats. And yet you think you're going to get into real estate and it's all just going to be blissful and it's all just going to be wonderful and nothing bad's ever going to happen and you're going to make all this money every single time and that's how it's going to be. And then when it doesn't, what happens? You quit. And there are 2 reasons why most people quit. 2 reasons why. First is shame. And shame is what? It's about you not being good enough. My dad was right. I am a loser. My spouse is right. There's no way I can do this. The second reason is blame. So after we shame, by the way, these go together usually, don't they? Second reason is blame. It's not my fault. It's whose fault? It's the economy. It's my boss. It's my business partner. It's my spouse. It's who's in office. And if you can't find anybody to blame, who's the ultimate person to blame for your problems? Your parents? No, your parents, yeah. Your freaking parents, they screwed you up so bad, right? Yeah, we all have that. That's life. This is normal. The thing here, though, is how do you not make it mean something about you? Ultimately, what you're doing here with shame and blame is you're making it mean that you don't have value, you don't have worth to do this. And this is why most people quit. They don't handle shame and blame, which is also very normal, very human thing to do. It takes a lot of character and it takes a very solid person to not make failure mean something about you. Failure is an event, not a person. Who believes that? Okay? Failure is an event, not a person. And this is what my wife was trying to tell our friends was that Jerry falls down on his face, and what does he do? He gets right back up. And I've done that now consecutively for 20 years in real estate. I'm at where I'm at solely because when I fall down on my face, I get right back up. And if you do the same, you will continually progress. It's not whether you get knocked down, it's what? Whether you get back up. Something that my wife says all the time. She says it to our kids. She says it to our coaching students. She says, we learn our way to heaven, not earn our way to heaven.
Go ahead, Marie.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, she's right here. Hi, sweetie. We learn our way, right? It's just a learning process. We learn as we go. That's how we do this. That's how you ultimately reach your goals, reach a certain level of success. So let's talk about some steps you can take. These are the steps that I've taken. These are the steps. Who wants to learn how to increase their risk tolerance? Okay. Number one is you have to self-assess your current level. Where are you at today? Now, one of the hardest things for us to do is what? Self-awareness. Self-awareness is one of the hardest things. We see everybody else's problems. I know exactly what somebody else needs to do to fix their life. But our ego gets in the way of seeing our own level, our own spot, our own self. So you have to look at it and you have to self-assess. Now, there's sort of two things you want to think about as you self-assess. It's your willingness. How willing are you? And your ability. Now, a lot of people come into real estate and they've got strong willingness, like, hey, I'm eager. I want something better. I want something different. But they just don't have the ability to because they don't even know how they're going to pay rent next month. And this is where, did you guys hear Jamil? He says, if you're working on your first deal and you're not there yet, come and see me. I will help you. And Jamil will. Jamil will show you exactly what you need to do to get your first deal. And if you follow what Jamil says, you probably could get there in about 30 days, right? I don't know if Jamil's around, but I would guess Jamil would say, follow these steps, be consistent. In 30 days, you'll have a deal. Okay, so think about your willingness. Think about your ability. Step two, you want to function one level higher than your current level. Until when? Till that feels normal. So here's what's going to happen. Let's say that you're at a level 3. You're going to put yourself into a level 4 spot. So you're going to operate at level 4. You're going to make decisions at a level 4. And what's going to happen while you're operating or functioning at a level 4? What's going to happen? Stress, anxiety, and sleepless nights. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be very uncomfortable. But what happens if you stay at a level 4 when you're actually at a level 3, but you operate at a level 4? What's going to happen over time? Pretty soon, that's going to start to feel normal. So we're going to normalize this a bit. And then once a level 4 feels normal, step 3 is what? Repeat the process. Now you're going to put yourself into a level 5. How do you think Pace Morby is doing $100 million in acquisitions in 1 year? How do you think he's doing that? Was he just born a genius like that? No, I guarantee you he worked his way up to that. Okay, so these are your 3 steps. Now, let me tell you a little bit about me. I started out 20 years ago and I was in construction. It was an underground construction company digging holes. I dug holes. I would come home from work so muddy that Anne-Marie would say, Jerry, you can't come in the house like that. Take all your muddy clothes and shoes off outside. So my neighbor got to see me in my underwear every day before I came inside. And that was my life. And then I found real estate and I started to flip houses. And these were very low income neighborhoods, very small, because that was where I was at with my risk tolerance, right? Like, hey, I can handle a small deal. So I started doing small deals and that was fine. It was great. I started to do a lot of small deals and started to progress. And then I would flip houses. They were like entry-level homes at the time, like maybe $125,000, $150,000 houses. And I was wholesaling and fixing and flipping. And then I did this deal. And this deal completely transformed the way I looked at real estate. This was a pivotal moment when I did this deal because this deal was out of my comfort zone. It was bigger, it was more expensive. I bought this house for $179,000. I put $53,000 into the rehab and I sold it for like $379,000 or something like that. And I made a $74,000 net profit on this one deal. And I did it in about 120 days. And I had this, yeah, thank you. This was like 15 years ago or something. So that's, to you, that would be like $150,000 today, right? But I did this deal and I sat back and I thought to myself, wow, this was just as much time, energy, and effort as the small deals, but made 3 times as much money. And this started me on a trajectory of doing margin over volume and pushing myself into new levels of bigger deals. That make sense? Yeah. And at this time, when I did this deal, I made 2 goals for myself. These were the 2 goals. I want to do a single deal that makes $1 million profit. Okay, that was a goal. Now at the time, that was like way up the scale, way out of my comfort zone. And I've always wanted to own a house on a lake. That was a goal I had for myself ever since I was a kid. And in Michigan, there's lakes everywhere. And I just thought, man, imagine if you could just walk out of your house and you're on the lake. Wouldn't that be amazing? So I made those 2 goals for myself. And then I went to work and I started to do bigger deals. And I started to build and sell houses, not for customers, but I would spec. So I'd buy a lot, I'd build a house, put it up for sale, and I'd flip it. And I started to do a little bit bigger, and years are going by, and I'm doing a little bit higher. And then I hit the $1 million price point. So houses that I would sell for about $1 million. And I got stuck at that level for a while, like I was comfortable there, too comfortable. And so then I made a decision, you know what? How do I go to the next level? I need to push outside of Southern Utah, where about $1 million is about the price point. And so I moved to Scottsdale, Arizona, Mesa, Arizona, and I started doing $3 to $5 million homes. And here's what happened. The first $3 million home I did, I lost $200,000. The second $3 million home I did, I broke even. This is the third $5 million home I did, and I made $1.2 million net profit. Yeah, right? Yeah, there we go. And this was a couple years ago. This was 3 or 4 years ago. And when I did that deal, guess what else I did? I bought this. All right, there we go, right? Yeah. Now this was years later from setting those goals when I did that $74,000 deal. Years later. By the way, you want to know something funny? So I sold that house for $4.9 million. 6 months later, the guy that I sold it to resold it for $6.7 million. Had I waited 6 more months, I'd have made another $1.5 million. No, it gets worse. Then he sold it for $15 million. And I know what Pace is going to say. See, Jerry, this is why you hold real estate. You don't sell it. Okay, now today I'm in Puerto Rico and I'm in the largest resort community in the Caribbean. It's called Palmas del Mar. I'm building right now the largest house. It's over 11,000 square feet to flip. And I've got another one we're doing too. These are $6 to $8 million homes. And so what am I doing? Why am I doing a project like this? Because I'm trying to step now slightly out of my comfort zone. And this is out of my comfort zone because you build in Puerto Rico much different. There is absolutely no lumber. It's all reinforced concrete is how you build. So it's a much different process and I'm learning a lot, but I'm pretty excited about it. And I'm stretching myself to my next level. Okay. Oh, this thing's a bomb shelter. Yeah. Like the footings on this house are 2.5 feet thick. I mean, imagine that, right? It's insane because they have to withstand hurricanes and earthquakes. Okay, so that's a project I'm doing right now. I'm doing another project right now that's really stretching me, and it's called Propwire. Now, how many of you know what Propwire is? Okay, so I personally have millions of dollars invested into this project. It's a free seller data software. There's no subscription fees. You can search and download as much as you want, absolutely free. I started this project about 2 years ago. About a year ago, we launched it. Today, we have about 150,000 users on the platform. We are number 2 in the data software spot. So PropStream gets about 1.2 million unique visitors a month. We're at almost 500,000, and guess what? We'll catch PropStream. We'll catch them. Yeah, because we're doing all the right things. Now, millions of dollars invested in this project, losing money month over month, and I will continue to lose money month over month. Why? Because I've got a huge vision for what the software can do and what it can be. How many of you know Dan Kennedy? Probably one of the greatest direct response marketers of all time. He said, the business that can spend the most to acquire a customer wins. I will have millions of users on Propwire in time because why? Because I can write the check, or at least I hope I can continue to write the check, right? I'll either be a genius or a moron, time will tell. But I believe in this project passionately, and it's a risk, and it's pushing me out of my comfort zone. It's not my first software, so I've kind of working my way up to this idea, to this project. By the way, we're offering something right now just for Pace and Jamil and you guys, where for $97 a month, we give you 2,500 skip traces. Now, skip tracing is where you get the phone number, so you can call the sellers, right? And skip tracing runs about 12 cents per skip trace, is like the industry rate. So here's what we're doing. Think about this, guys. You get $300 in skip tracing for $97 a month. Now, why in the world would I do that? I lose money doing that. Why would I do that? Because I want active users. I want you, if you're active in the business, to be on the platform so that it can grow. Okay, if you guys scan that QR code, then you can get that special promo, 2,500 skip traces per month for $97 a month. Absolute no-brainer. You're welcome. Absolute no-brainer, guys. There's in 2,500 phone numbers, you should be able to extract a deal. Do you guys agree? Yes. For sure.
How about Flipster system?
That's one of my other softwares, yep. But this is just for Propwire, and it's the special promo for you guys, okay? Now, if you ever see a turtle on a post, has anybody ever seen a turtle on a post? If you ever do, there's one thing that's for sure. He had some help to get there. Do you agree? He had some help to get there. Pace mentioned before he brought me on about this mastermind that we joined, and I'm going to expand on that a little bit. At the time, Pace is right. I didn't network. I didn't talk to anybody. I just stuck with my family, my business. I just did my thing. I was in a phase in my life where I just didn't see value in a group of people that could support me and help me reach my goals. Just didn't do that. And that was at my detriment. I regret that looking back. And so I joined this little mastermind group that was in Phoenix, Arizona. And in this group, I met some really amazing people. I met Pace, I met Jamil, I met Brett Daniels, I met Steve Trang, I met the Batch guys. I met some people that were amazing real estate people that have completely transformed my life by getting to know these individuals. I would not be where I'm at today. This was, I don't know what Pace, 7, 8 years ago, maybe 6, 7 years ago. This was a while ago now. And these people here and others have allowed me to go to a level that I would not have done on my own. I would not have been able to do that. That's the power of being in a group like that, if you utilize the group. And Pace told this story about this house. This is the house that I built and sold. It was in Fountain Hills, Arizona, multi-million-dollar home. And in that market there, your buyer does not want any steps. The goal here is from the front door to the pool, 0 steps, because it's an older buyer and it has to be that way. Now this lot was a sloping lot. So I had to retain the lot all the way up. So this was a massive retaining project, like 3 walls of retaining to build this lot so that I could put this house on it. And Pace is right. I had this massive problem where this wall was failing. And I got bids, and it was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars is what my bids were coming back at, to basically redo the whole thing, tear it down, dig it up, and redo the whole thing. And I didn't know this whole story that Pace just told. I didn't know that till actually just a little while ago, maybe a year or so ago. All I know is this Pace's guy fixed a problem, and I have no idea. I had no idea. In fact, I think he billed me like $1,500 or something like that, just so that I wouldn't be overly suspicious as to like what just happened. And I didn't know that Pace was investing so much into having a friendship with me. Now, if you guys know Pace, like this story shouldn't sound odd at all to you, right? Like that's just how that guy rolls. He's just amazing at finding people to connect with, and he's amazing at teaching you how to connect with people. It's one of the greatest talents he has. And by the way, I don't know if you guys know this, but I sold Pace my house in Mesa when we moved to Puerto Rico. Don't look, Anne-Marie. But we sold Pace our house. And what was interesting is Pace and I sat down and I said, Pace, I want to sell you my house, but if I do, I'm going to have this massive tax liability. And Pace is like, yeah, and I'd like to write off the whole thing as well. So Pace and I put our minds together and we created a deal where I made $1 million without paying tax, and Pace paid $1 million over, and wrote it all off as an expense. If you guys ever want to watch the YouTube video where we break that down, it's the ultimate creative finance deal you'll ever hear, because it wasn't just creative real estate strategy, but it was also creative tax strategy. And so Pace and I have gone on now to just create and build an amazing friendship, and Pace has helped me in so many ways, and others too, like Jamil and Brent Daniels and others. So I'm so appreciative for being in a room with other people that are doing amazing things. You want to be amazing? Surround yourself with people that are doing things bigger than you. I have a friend that lives next door to us in Puerto Rico, and she tells a story of I forget her full name, but the co-author of, I forget the book now. But the story, I'll tell you the story. The story is, has anybody ever been on an African safari? Okay, apparently when you go on a safari, if you don't have a guide, what'll happen is you'll actually do circles. You'll just do a circle because the landscape all looks very similar. And you lead out when you walk with a dominant foot, and that dominant foot will actually cause you to do a circle as you walk. Now, the way to avoid that happening is you fix on something in the horizon and you create a focal point. And then you keep your eye on that focal point, and that allows you to then make a straight line where you don't just go around and around in circles. Yeah, I think you guys are seeing where I'm going with this. Now, I've always wanted to do a presentation where I talk about iguana hunting, and I finally figured out how to do it. So in Puerto Rico, me and my kids, we do iguana hunting. Now, it's an entire thing. We actually don't feel too bad. They're invasive, and we sell the meat to restaurants in South America. Okay? And we have a whole operation. I have like 5 freezers in my house, and we ship them on overnight cargo, and it's this whole thing. Well, when you hunt iguanas, and by the way, I'm colorblind, and nobody can find the iguanas better than Jerry Norton. Nobody. I can see them, and here's why. I'm colorblind, so you would think that I would not be able to see them, and they're crafty little buggers, so they hide really well. They're camouflage. But I see them, and why do you think I see them? Well, I'm looking beyond the obvious, okay? So I look for shape, I look for movement, and I'm not distracted by color, which everybody else is. So I can identify them and I can see them. But when you shoot an iguana out of a tree and it falls, and then you go to retrieve it in the jungle, very quickly you are lost. You have no idea where you are, and you can't find it. So what I do is I focus on the branch where I shot it, and as I go into the jungle, what am I doing? Keeping my eye on that focal point. Now, how do we relate this to where you're at right now in your journey? How do you create a focal point? How do you create a vision for yourself? And then how do you fixate on that and move in that direction until you accomplish your goals? Every year I would sit down and I'd write that goal. $1 million deal, $1 million deal, $1 million deal. And then I did the steps to get there and do that. There's does anybody know about gold mining? I have a friend who's really into gold, and we have a debate sometimes about what's better, real estate or gold, and of course I'm right. And he told me something fascinating. He said, when they decide if they're going to invest in mining for gold, they need to have 1 gram of gold per ton of rock to set up a profitable business, mining gold. Think about that. 1 gram of gold Just 1 gram of gold out of a ton of rock, and you've got a business. You've got a business, guys. Think about that. Isn't that fascinating? Now, here's what I would suggest to you. You are that gram of gold. You are that gram of gold. I believe every one of you is a son or daughter of God, and you have infinite worth just for being alive. Just for being alive. You don't have to qualify. Yeah. You don't have to qualify. You don't have to be good enough. You don't have to prove anything. By nature of being a child of God, you have infinite worth. Yes, sir. What does change is your experience here. That's it. Just your experience. What kind of experience do you want to have? I, for one, realize that I'm going to be dead a whole lot longer than I'm alive, right? And I want to make this an amazing experience because that's it. I got 1 shot. You guys are the gram of gold in that ton of rock, and you are worth the investment. You're worth the investment. You are worthy of the investment. And I want to encourage you, in closing here, I just want to encourage you to set a vision for yourself. You know, my wife and I yesterday while we were at Epcot, we were talking about our life and our goals and our plans and what we want for our businesses and for our family. And Emery made a really amazing observation. She said, we were talking to Vina Jetty about this a little bit too yesterday. And you don't just arrive at amazing, do you? No, you got to create that. You got to cultivate that. Like I've been married to Emery for 25 years and we have the most amazing marriage. But we work at it. We cultivate it. We create that. And our family and our businesses, we work at that every day to create that, to make it something amazing, to make it something special. And you guys can all do that too. Thank you, everybody. Love you guys so much. All right, thank you. You're welcome. Thank you, Bobby. All right, thank you.